Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And welcome to another transfer reaction where myself and Connor are now reacting to the news that Anwar El Ghazi has gone in the opposite direction of Luca Dean and has joined Everton from Aston Villa on a loan till the end of the season. This was announced very late in the day, about 5 o'clock, so not long before we recorded this. Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Obviously, Luca Dean leaves and Anwar El Ghazi comes in to join a plethora of wingers that we've got now. And I mean, there was a point where we had none under Ronald Koeman a couple of years ago. Now we can't get enough of them. Connor, what's your take on bringing El Ghazi in on loan?
I'm glad it's on loan. I mean, I think one of the major reasons that I feel a little bit not negative, but a bit iffed about it is the rumours coming from it and the wider connotations of the rumours, aka apparently Benitez wasn't keen on the player, and this is more of an owner's buy again. And those connotations, which we probably will get into, they're the ones that I have the major if with. In terms of him as a player, I think he's just okay. I think he's okay. Apparently, he can play across the front three, though, so maybe we'll see him in the number 10 role, as that is somewhere where we are really lacking and where I thought we'd go to sign in more than the wingers. I'm glad it's on loan because if he just stays as an okay player, doesn't kick on, we can just send him back, as opposed to if we bought him and be stuck with a player that we don't really think is very good. I'm trying to hold out judgment as much as I can because I don't want to, write the player off before he's played. So I'm trying to hold judgment in that aspect, and like the fella seems really nice. His new number is in respect to Nuri, who had that cardiac arrest a couple of years ago, which is a nice touch. I think the only problem with it is, and then the if I have is that he's just an okay player, but he's on loan, so it doesn't matter. But it's the connotations behind it of why he's here. Because if it's true the manager doesn't want him, that's a big problem.
We discussed this a little bit in the Dean segment before, but I was saving it particularly for this one. As we were saying, like the manager is getting a lot of pelters, from, and rightly so, I think, from Luca Dean's comments and whatnot. But Luca Dean, when he's saying about people saving themselves rather than the club, it could easily be Farhad Moshiri that he's talking about, because Moshiri's gone completely against the will of even the manager, who he keeps backing, against the majority of the fan base. But he's gone against even that manager to save his own self-interest by, basically bowing to Kia Jarabchan again and helping him seal a deal that'll obviously pocket him a lot of money. And it stinks. The whole operation stinks. And, Anwar El Ghazi, it's not his fault, and he might turn out to be a decent player for us, but that whole operation that has probably seen this loan move come about is disgraceful. And, when Luca Dean says about, like, people saving themselves maybe over the club, I think Farhad Moshiri is equally guilty of that. Certainly Kia Jarabchan sticking his nose into the club's business, and Moshiri for allowing that is disgraceful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of glad that it's sort of, obviously the fella blows my mind because he's obviously invested a lot of money, and the new stadium's coming in. Like, in one aspect, you should be like, be grateful we've got a new stadium and sort of feeling around it, and he's put a lot of money in. But the problem is, a lot of money's done no good because we're in the mess we're in now with 500 million investment. The new stadium is fantastic, obviously, and there's no criticism on that end. But the actual management of the football club, Jamie Carragher's said it, Simon Jordan has said it before. He might be a good businessman, but he doesn't know about how to run football and run a football club. Jamie Carragher said he knows nothing about it on Sky, and he's right. He doesn't. If this is true that Benitez has said I don't want El Ghazi, and he's gone and listened to his super agent friend, and then got him regardless. It's got a waff of a Wobie about it as well, and against Tosin about it. And I just don't understand it. I mean, at this point, the streamline might as well just put him down as owner and director of football if he's going to do this. I also, it blows my mind because I don't think, I can't 100% speak for this, but I have this feeling he doesn't watch our games. I think he looks at the results, but I don't think he sits there and watches every single. He might watch the big games. Don't think he watches the Everton Norwiches of the world, the Everton Hulls of the world, unless they're finals, semi-finals. Just because I don't know why he would buy players that don't suit the system. I don't think Iwobi suited the system when he was bought in.
I
I
don't
don't
think he'd
think
be buying the rubbish players he's buying if he had to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think he'd. I think if he was watching it, he'd watch Iwobi and go. And I don't want to go in on Iwobi because obviously he gets a horrid time as it is. But he'd watch it and go, right. I don't think I know enough to be a scout or a director of football. So maybe I should leave it to the men in charge that I hire. I pay money to do that. The club's got scouts that he pays. What are you paying them for if you're going to go out your way to do it yourself? And it's just the idea as well that his mate, who's the agent, he doesn't have the club's best interest at heart. As good as they might be friends, I don't think he has Mashiri's interest at heart. Agents only have their own interest at heart. I don't even think sometimes they have the best in their clients. I think they have the best in their own interests and the money they make off deals. So why are we listening to a man who's in the business for himself when you've got people you actually pay for their expert opinions? It'd be like having a financial advisor or a stocks and shares advisor, and then you're going, but I like the name of that stock, so I'm going to whack all my money on that instead. Like, what would be the point in hiring an expert then?
It's just ridiculous. And let's be honest, it's the issue is that, yeah, he might deliver a good new stadium, but what's the point when they're playing rubbish football and it's full of absolute fraud players who are probably only there because the kids are Abchan's clients?
Exactly, and it puts such a dangerous sort of like if he's going to do this, it's going to put everyone off coming in terms of managers, because some managers like working with directors of football, some don't. I don't think many managers are going to like working for a director of football, an agent, and Farhad Mashiri, as well as the manager himself in terms of building his own squad. Not many managers are going to look at that situation and go, oh, yeah, I'll come do that, unless Farhad Mashiri is going to offer them a lot of money. And the problem is with him is I don't want him to be. I'm not saying he has to come every game. I'm not saying he has to do a Bill Kenwright and sit there through every match. And put emotion on or anything like that. If he doesn't want to and he wants to sit on his yacht, I'm fine with that. That's no problem with me. And he just puts money in and he doesn't get seen. Maybe he comes at an FA Cup final if we ever get there. That's fine. But if you're going to do that and you're not going to be in England for 4 years, even though you own a football club, then don't get involved with the transfer dealings as well. You can't pick and choose. And I know people go, it's his money, so it's his prerogative. But
it's our football club.
Yeah, it's our club. We're the ones who
day.
have to watch it. And there's fans that pay, hardworking fans who don't have that type of money that pay their season tickets year on year. They're going up as well, and they've got to watch it. It's just
they've got to watch it.
It's mental.
It's ridiculous, and with that in mind, I think the board needs to be very careful, and Machini needs to be careful because fans are going to. I don't know there's a waiting list, but fans are going to start dropping the season tickets very quickly if it carries on like this.
I think that's what he's banking on. I said this to my dad because him and my stepmom were season ticket holders, and he's going to bank on the fact you wouldn't drop your ticket because you might, the waiting list, you might want to get into Bramley more. So that's why he's raised the price. I'm certain he's raised the price, even though the football's not been good enough to suggest you raising the price of the tickets, because he's banking on, well, you're not going to cancel your ticket because you won't get into Bramley more then, and then you'll really regret it. So he has a vice at the minute. But like you said, if we get there and the football's still the same, or even then, after a certain point, fans are going to start looking and going, well, I don't think it's worth it. I'll take the risk and just, assume when we get there.
The novelty will wear off. We'll go into the new stadium after a couple of years. You'll have sat in this new stadium a couple of times, and then they'll be like, football's still rubbish. You're not going to want to go back. You've gone, been there, done that.
Exactly. And the fact that it's...
won't want to go back.
And it's a mega state, it's more seats. It's meant to be a bit of a mega complex. It's going to cost a lot of money. You're going to need as many fans as you can in that stadium to, sort of take the damage of the cost away. It's meant to be an investment. And it's not a very good investment if you don't have fans sitting in it, paying to go to it.
Well, precisely, but for the fans to want to constantly go and sit in it, long term, you're gonna have to have a good football team on that pitch, and he's
Yeah,
got to realise if he wants a cohesive team, he's got to have a cohesive transfer strategy that he keeps his nose out of.
yeah, and a team that the fans can connect with, and there's been some. It was the Benitez, obviously, like when he hired Benitez, he made a claim. I've listened to fans before type esque dig. That's not going to do you any favors. And then the fact that at the minute, other than rumours coming from journalists and Jim White, there is no communication. And I'm not saying the fans, should know every dirty detail, and how much secretaries are getting paid and all that. But there needs to be some communication. Jim White shouldn't be Everton's, responding, and that's not how we should be hearing news of the club through Jim White on Talksport or from the owner. We've got a media team at Everton, who I imagine do an all right job. Why aren't you going through the club's channels?
Why are you undermining your staff?
Exactly, and also some fans just might not want Talksport. You're then making them have to listen to a channel that they might not want to listen to. It's madness.
Yeah.
It's crazy that it's Jim White is his mouthpiece when he has the resources at the club.
Yeah, it's the whole thing about the way he runs the club is farcical. And I mean, we shouldn't take that away from obviously El Ghazi. He's probably he's a decent enough player. He's not a whale beater, but he scores against us a couple of times. So
Who hasn't to this, right?
This is it's just Josh King Mark II, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I do hope he scores against Villa. Everyone's been saying about Luca Dean scoring. I do hope it's the other way around for a change.
No, fingers crossed. I mean, God forbid. I think someone was saying there's enough narratives about this game to, last a lifetime. Gerrard coming up against us, Dean coming up against us, Coutinho coming up against us when we nearly went after him. El Ghazi El Ghazi up against them, and then someone else mentions I say half, probably more than half the fan base against the Everton manager.
It's got a weird atmosphere, hasn't it? Both, Liverpool legends in the dugouts as well. It's very surreal.
It's got no business having any of that at Goodison, have you?
No, if you told me this about a year ago, I'd have been like, shut up.
There's a spew me guts up, and I don't know how I haven't so far this season. It's like, it is ridiculous. Well, do you know what? The issue I have with Benitez isn't even to do with his connections to Liverpool. We've had ex-Liverpool players and stuff in the past, and they've done a good job. The fact is he's a raging narcissist who only cares about himself and doesn't put that before the club. And the same could be said for Farhad Mashiri as well. I think he's putting his own interests before the club as well. Like, at one point, we've got to get these people out of the club and put people in place who genuinely give one.
And that's not been it. I mean, I don't know what his interests are in terms of Mashiri, because the club, isn't doing wonderfully well. The team aren't competing for where I imagine he'd want us to be competing. So I don't know. I think it's just it's a shiny thing, sort of. I do have that sort of feeling that it's a shiny toy-esque thing, because the club's nowhere near achieving what he wants to achieve, and it's definitely not bringing in the money that he's pushed into it. So he's working on losses anyway. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing with Benitez is I agree. It wasn't the Liverpool links. I remember saying when we signed him, I was like, it's not that. I think football's passed him by.
Definitely.
2 months on, it looks like I might have got that one right. And it's the fact that people were saying, he's culling the club, he's getting rid of players, but he's not getting rid of the players that we've all for the last 2 years said we need to get rid of. He's not getting rid of the Tosens, whose careers at Everton are unfortunately up. The Fabian Delphs, his careers at Everton's up. Mason Holgate, I think his career at Everton's up. He's not getting rid of players that fans have been saying for the last 3 years need to go. He's getting rid of players where the fans have actually been like, oh, he's one of our better players. Or he's getting rid of staff that we didn't have an issue with till now.
I think I think he's probably took advantage. We've had a lot of bad luck with injuries, and it feels like he's pinned the blame on Dan Donaghy in that respect.
Yeah, and since then, we've had just as much injuries, some COVID, which is completely irrelevant because you can't help that. But then we've had Mina coming back way too early, and that again was because he didn't want to play Luca Dean. And you had Townsend the other day saying that he took a shot on his weaker foot, and he was asked why, and he was like, because my strong foot's not fully recovered yet. What are you doing playing football? If you can't take a shot on your strongest foot, you probably shouldn't be playing. That should be one of those clear signs. A bit like if you're going to limp when you run, you shouldn't be playing. If you can't shoot the ball with your strong foot, you probably shouldn't be on there. And if he had shot it and re-damaged his foot, could you imagine the outcry then? It'd have been a Yerry Mina again, rushed back too soon. Townsend would probably be out then for like 3 months.
Yeah, it's the whole thing's circus, and I mean, it's good to have El Ghazi in for that purpose alone, just more injury cover, because the way we're going, it's inevitable to be more.
Yeah, and like I said, if he can play across the front foot, I think that's even more useful. We definitely needed a 10. The window's still open, so maybe we'll get a 10. We definitely needed one if he's going to stay with the formation he's putting out. If El Ghazi can do that, even better. But I do agree. I think we're going to have a couple more injuries. So I guess that's one more. If he can play on the left, that's even better. He just covers the front three. But it's not the signing I personally would have. Well, it's not the signing that apparently Benitez would have made, but it's not the one I personally would have made. I think there's more important parts of that squad that need, thickening out.
Absolutely. But he's here, and in terms, I think he can provide us with something different. Not that that's saying much. I mean, I think some of the players we have here are terrible, but he's definitely got some ability, and he'll probably be able to contribute something. He's not a world beater, like I say, but I still think he can add something to the team, and I'm glad he's here. It's just a shame about the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy as long as he runs. If he's a bit of a workhorse, I'll be perfectly happy with that. If he looks like he cares, that'll be the best thing for him because he'll win fans over in a heartbeat. And he's, not that he needs to win fans over. Fans are the majority backing him. They realise the situation behind it stinks, but that's not his fault, like you've said. But if he works his socks off, he'll get a lot of people on his side very quickly. That's the best thing you could do. The worst thing we'd want to see him do is walking around, looking unbothered and unfazed. So as long as he's got a bit of a workhorse mentality, I think he'll do okay.
Yeah, I don't doubt that we'll see something from him, but I think obviously it's more. I think it'll probably be a bit more it'd probably come across as a very good sign, and if it weren't for the circumstances and obviously a better player leaving and the whole furore over the club anyway. So I think I'm still happy that he's here, and hopefully it will turn out all right. But yeah, hopefully it's not the end of our transfer business. Maybe another loan or something could happen between now and the end of the window. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, the fact it's a loan deal is really, really made me quite happy about it because there's literally no risks really. We just send him back if it's not worked out. I do hope we get a couple more loans in the window. I think it's possible. There's a couple of players this year that's supposedly up for grabs. It's avoiding the certain ones that we're linked with is my biggest worry. I think the other thing that irked me about El Ghazi, which I'm glad it's a loan, is the money that we were going to originally spend was about 10 million less than what we sold Dean for. We've watched David Neres go to Shakhtar. That would be the only thing that really wound me up if we'd spent 15 million on him is that David Neres, a younger player, got a bit higher sell value, had gone to Shakhtar for around about the same, if not slightly less. I think from the last time I saw it, it was around that 15 million mark he went to Shakhtar for. So that would have been the only other thing if it wasn't a loan that would have wound me up a little bit. Just because Neres has been a target of ours for the last couple of years as well, and the summer.
Well, yeah, I think, like I say, I think I'm happy he's here, El Ghazi. It's just hope he's not the last signing of this window.
No,
Anyway, guys,
I hope so.
go on. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I also hope so as well, mate. And more loans, to be fair, because they're pretty much,
Lower
you know,
risk.
yeah, which is what we need at the moment.
Everton risk don't go at the moment.
And low risk, no throwing money up the wall. That'd be the best way forward for us.
Definitely. Anyway, we'll finish it up there. Let us know your opinions, guys, on the acquisition of Anwar El Ghazi on loan. Drop us a comment, give the video a like, and subscribe for more content. And until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.